Hello, my name is April Younglove, and this is a very special presentation today brought to you by the school district's AI task force. We have some eager and enthusiastic high schoolers that I will introduce to you in one moment who are going to answer some questions about AI and talk about how it affects their lives. First, I want to especially thank Drishti Singh, who is going to moderate this event and helped put it together. Then, once I'm going to turn it over to Drishti will talk with these students. I'm going to briefly introduce them. Sitting right here is Braden Lee, a junior from Lake Ridge High School. Right here in the lovely green sweater, we have Enid Rittman, a sophomore from Lake Ridge High School. Here we have Kai Friedman, a junior from Lake Oswego High School, and on the end, Porter Bates, a junior from Lake Oswego High School. I look forward to hearing what they have to say. Quick reminder, at the very end, I'm going to have surveys, and I'd like you to fill that out so that we know what you like and dislike about our programs and what we can improve. All right, are you ready, Drishti? Okay.
Okay, so I think we're going to change the order up a bit from what we had originally planned and save this for towards the end. But we'll start off with our first question. But as people are watching or showing up, if they want to join this online activity, it's at a site called menti.com. It's just cut off at the top, and there's a code at the top, 37806833. So if anyone wants to join that, they can. And we'll use that to do a little discussion at the end. But we'll start off with our first question, and I'll just hand the microphone to the first panelist, and they'll each share their thoughts and pass it down the line. Our first question is, what's your favorite or least favorite way to use AI as a tool in your life?
All right, my name is Braden Lee, and personally, my favorite way to use AI is to start big projects or tasks that I want to do, but I don't really have like a full comprehensible view of how I'm going to attack the problem or go through with the project. I think using AI to brainstorm ideas or help me get a list of what I need to do or like get things done for is really useful. So like say you want to start a program that helps youth get access to sports equipment if they're like from less wealthy families, and like there's expensive sports like tennis, golf, like you need shoes, rackets, clubs, all those sort of things for them to be able to play, and I don't know where to source those things. I don't know how to do outreach, all these sort of things, and AI can be really useful to help you brainstorm a list of ideas. Obviously, you're going to need to do more research and go more in depth, but I think that's a really helpful way to use AI.
I'm Enid Rittman. Personally, my favorite way to use AI is to use it as sort of an interactive Wikipedia. So if I'm new to a topic or I want to learn more about something, I'll just do a quick search on ChatGPT or something, and I'll get all those results popped up to me like pretty quickly. It's really convenient, easy to understand, and if I have any more questions about the subject, I can ask and go more in depth. I also like using AI for this because unlike Wikipedia, it gives me the whole internet's view on something like social media, and it just gives me a wider range of ideas than Wikipedia, although I do treat it with the same amount of credibility as these sites because I know that it can make things up or just overall be not entirely accurate. So if I'm doing research on something important, I always fact check or don't use AI at all. And I'd say my least favorite way to use AI, or my least favorite way that people use AI is to plagiarize it and pretend that its ideas are their own, because I know that although it's not a person and you're not stealing a human's ideas, it's still plagiarism because they're not your own, and I see a lot of people doing that, and it's one of my pet peeves.
Cool. My name's Kai Friedman. AI can pretty much conform to any idea or project you want it to, and there's so many ways that are my favorite and least favorite that I've seen people use it. I wrote down some notes just because there's so many ways just to keep me on track. And first off, just using it as a helper, not replacement overall for thinking. regardless of what you're using it for, I think is really important and core to using AI ethically. Explaining hard topics for me personally is how I like to use it, because for those hard topics, usually there's a high point of entry that you need to already know things about, and AI can kind of break that down and gives you some steps to get there. Brainstorming ideas really helps because it can give you ideas that you've never thought of or you've never even thought to look for. Drafting something I will edit into my own words is another really big one. With writing, I know you sometimes get writer's block when you don't know, you just see a blank page and you're staring at it. So if you can just get some words on the page and then start making it your own, that really gives you a boost, whether it's writing an email, starting an essay for an outline or something. And then another thing I found really interesting is that it's like a 24/7 tutor for students who can't afford high-paid tutors for certain topics. I think it's a really good way to get training on certain subjects, and it's interactive too, which is very helpful. Least favorite is when AI replaces effort, learning, or honesty. That's a big one that I see a lot, and it's just completely swapping AI's opinion for your own personal one. And it also replaces your effort, so you don't learn that grit and perseverance that you normally would if AI wasn't a thing. Also, when people create fake news or videos, that's another big one because it just spreads misinformation. But overall, I think AI amplifies people's motives, whether that's good or bad. So it has a lot of opportunity to be used for good. And with that, I'll hand it off to Porter.
All right, so my name is Porter Bates. For me, I think AI is an amazing tool to use for helping you out in set scenarios. I believe that it can also be used very, very poorly, like just sending it into ChatGPT and it has you do your homework for you. But I personally do not enjoy doing that way. So I will go to ChatGPT if I ever have any questions that I need answered, like when I'm doing anatomy homework and I need to find a set bone on the body. I will have them, or I will ask to help me out understand the nerve transmission from the synapse to all the way up to the brain and the spinal cord. I use AI to help me also when it comes to big projects. Like if I'm having trouble starting on an essay, if I have something in marketing that I need to advertise, if I need help making a logo, I'll have AI help me out in ideas and create something that I will envision in my mind. And it's something that I can't create personally on my own, but I'll have them do it for me to help me out.
Thanks, guys. And I see some new people have sat down. If you want to join this activity, you are welcome to. It's on a site called menti.com, and there's like a quick code, and you can just answer that question, and your answers will show up on the screen. The code is 37806833. And amazing answers, guys. Thanks for your answers for the first question. Our second question is, should there be limits on the usage of AI, and to what extent should those limits go? What harm do you think it can cause if those limits are surpassed?
My answer is definitely yes. With media and government especially, I think putting limits on using AI, because everyone's seen AI slop and like all the videos. Everyone's heard of the Will Smith eating spaghetti videos, and we can see they're getting more and more realistic. And it's really hard to distinguish real things from fake things a lot of the time. And that can lead to a lot of misinformation and propaganda. Like in China, the government actually uses AI-generated videos to promote anti-West sentiments and like drive divisiveness in like across the global stage, which is really harmful to society and global unity. It definitely shouldn't be used in governments like draft proposals, because as our elected officials, they have responsibility to help us and serve us, since as the general populace, well, not us, but we elected them to help serve our people. And with, like, I know Eden mentioned earlier that it can be wrong a lot of the time. If it makes mistakes when drafting proposals, that can have real impact on a bunch of real people, and that can be really dangerous. Beyond that, like on a side note, using AI in schools is really bad. Most people have seen the MIT Media Lab study where they showed AI usage when like doing work, like writing a paper, can decrease brain activity by up to 55%, and hinders recall abilities when you're like right after you wrote the paper compared to people who didn't use AI to write the paper. And goes to show how it can be detrimental towards your like neurological activity. Obviously, it's still a really recent technology, and just like with iPhones and social media, there's a lot of stuff we don't know yet about long-term risks or safety. So it's just good to use it sparingly, but use it to help you where you can. Just don't use it for everything.
Yeah, I agree with Braden. I think there should definitely be limits on AI. I think these limits should specifically go to areas where AI is kind of overlapping with human thinking or culture and society. Because I feel like AI is really present in a lot of places in our culture where it maybe shouldn't be, like in art or music or even social media. A lot of the things you'll find are generated by AI. And this kind of replaces one of the best things about humanity, which is our culture and society. And I think that placing barriers to having AI be in this culture would help a lot with making sure that humans can keep like developing as a society and ensure a better society for everyone. Also, when AI encroaches on human thinking, especially in schools and places where people are growing and learning, it can be really dangerous because, like Braden said, it'll decrease brain activity, and if humans aren't able to think by themselves, then we're in a really dangerous place, in my opinion.
Yeah, that was great, guys. For me, I think that there definitely should be limits, like preventing illegal use of AI, obviously. Protecting privacy for the person using it, I think, is a big one that people don't think about because you're feeding all of that information into that model and they're using it to keep training responses. I think there should be legal protections for you from that organization, whatever AI model you're using. Another one I think is labeling AI generated media should be definitely something that people do just because it spreads so much misinformation and you always have to second guess, is this AI generated or not nowadays? And for learning, I think that instead of us looking at it as a barrier or as like a roadblock to learning, I think we can use it as a tool so that instead of us spending our time thinking about smaller subjects that we have to learn more slowly, even though it is harder, I think if we apply that same amount of effort to bigger things and use AI to help us, I think as a society we can accomplish way bigger and better things than we've ever done before. Potential harms to any misuse of AI is definitely misinformation, over-reliance, just like people talked about, like decreasing your brain usage and eventually it switching out for your internal judgment and work ethic. Manipulation of opinions, because it can create just slight differences in real information. That's a big one. And it can also be an echo chamber. It can put a ton of fake news or something out, so if you see it from different sources, maybe all of those different sources could be AI. And my just kind of final thought is it can be used for good or harm. There's not one that it's going to be definitively. It's just how we as a society choose to use it. And I think putting limits on some of those worst case scenarios is a good idea.
Yeah, I 100% agree that AI needs to have limitations. I believe that if AI doesn't have limitations, then we as a society will be doomed. I think that AI definitely is a powerful tool that we can use and we can control it. But if something happens, then it's not the greatest thing. But that's why we need to put the limitations on there. And like people giving out personal information, I've had ChatGPT or someone tell me that ChatGPT blocked their response due to something that they said, like they were giving out like I think an address or something, and ChatGPT blocked it out. So there is already limitations out there, which is great that they're doing. Which I'm not too sure about the limitations currently, but from what I know, it's already out there and it's doing a good job, I believe. Um, yeah,
Yeah. I think that pretty much sums it up. Back to Drishti.
Thanks. Good answers again. So our final question that we have prepared, and then we can take questions, is how do you decipher what information you can trust? And this can include both responses from generative AI that you're not sure are accurate or not, and also like external links that you maybe get from an email that could be scams that are made using AI. How do you know what's real, what you can use, what's trustworthy?
Yeah, this is a really tough question and a lot of things that people are trying to figure out right now because beyond even AI, a lot of media and places where you would typically find news are extremely biased and only show one point of view or the other, and it can be really hard to distinguish it. And when you throw AI into that mix and have it generating things that seem real but aren't even close to real, and making it like seem like it was an actual event that occurred or something that someone said, that can be really, really dangerous for people. One of the things that I do, like say you're scrolling on social media and you see an AI video, a lot of times you can tell because things will look like too perfect or unnatural or like I don't know, blurred out in the background. Those are all ways to tell that something could be an AI generated video. When you have your family, like say you get a call, they have deep fake stuff that can imitate people's voices extremely accurately, and they seem to know things about you that only your personal relatives should know. And it can be really hard to tell sometimes, but if someone is asking for money or something suspicious, that's pretty suspicious. That's like a big red flag. And at least ask them to like meet in person to talk about it, or ask them something that only they should know, like something that can't be found on your social media accounts, like not something that's like, where did I go on vacation in 2024, and you have like 3 posts about Paris in on your Instagram page, but something like what was my favorite food in college, if you went to college with them. That would be a really good idea to be able to distinguish if like it's a real thing or just a robocall trying to scam you out of your money. I know there's stories about deep fakes online where this one guy named, I think his name was Steve Beauchamp, he saw a video. It was a deep fake of Elon Musk telling him to invest in a new startup company. And he believed it because Elon Musk, he thought billionaire, good idea to invest. Lost his life savings, like $700,000. Just definitely do your own independent research. And even with ChatGPT, it messes up a ton of the time. It has things called hallucinations where it just completely makes up random facts. A lot of times it will be helpful because it will give you links to where it found the information, and that can be really useful. Just like how when you're on Wikipedia, like Enid said earlier, Wikipedia itself isn't inherently trustworthy, but the places it pulls its information from, at the bottom of the page there will be a huge list of sources that it used, and a lot of times ChatGPT or other language-based models will give you the sources where they got their information from. And beyond that, you can just ask it straight for, where do I find this kind of information? And then it will give you a list. And that will be trustworthy, most of the time, trustworthy information like Britannica or the history, like way more reputable sources that you can look into.
Yeah, I agree with like the difference between reputable sources and irreputable sources is definitely very easy to see today. The AI makes that difference a lot harder, especially when it comes to current events where there's a lot of media attention. There will always be AI videos trying to convince you of something else that's not true. And so what I do is I have like a little collection of websites and newspapers and encyclopedias that I know have information I can trust, And so if I see something that looks suspicious or looks like it might be AI generated, I'll go to these websites, see if there's information that backs it up so I know that it's true, or if there's something that disproves the idea, I'll be able to tell that it's AI or just misinformation, and I'll discard the idea and will avoid getting misinformed by that. As for things like scams and external links, there was one time I actually almost got scammed. I was at summer camp, I clicked on a Pinterest link and it redirected me to this like Apple pop-up, or supposedly Apple pop-up, that said that I had gotten scammed and told me to pay $20 to buy this app that would supposedly fix the scam. And I almost bought it because I was far away from my family, I was nervous, and it was like the second day of summer camp, I didn't know anyone. But I took a breath, I stepped back, and then I realized that doesn't seem very reliable. Why would Apple be telling me to buy this random app? And so I Googled it. It turns out Apple doesn't do pop-ups like this. It was definitely a scam from the beginning. And I was avoided getting tricked into buying that app. And a lot of scammers I know take advantage of these moments of panic where you think, oh no, I've gotten scammed, I have to take action, and that's when they get you. And so I think that it's important to remember to take a step back, rethink what's happening, and then make your decision based off a bit more time to avoid that quick decision that might get you in trouble.
Yeah, for sure. I think the big thing is check if the information sounds reasonable. If it's something that surprises you or is full of emotion, holds urgent claims, that's something that you got to be extra cautious about. That should raise a red flag in your mind of, oh, I should check this, see if it's AI generated or something. I think another thing is just using your common sense to see whether it sounds reasonable. If you're surprised by it and you see information on that source specifically validating that claim, you shouldn't get your information and ideas all from one source. You should definitely check, diversify across a bunch of different sources to make sure that information is true. And just find those trustworthy ones that you're sure of, like big newspaper, well, not necessarily big newspapers, but ones that are trustworthy, because some definitely aren't. And even though they may claim to be trustworthy, especially even AI ones, because AI is very confident. That's how it gets you. It says things with 100% certainty, and even if those things are false, it's going to act like they're true. So I think just definitely checking those sources to make sure that those claims actually are true or false is a big one. And then as far as scams go, don't click on any links. If it's giving you just information for no reason, that probably leans more towards it's telling the truth. But if it's like click on a link or send money or your credit card's been compromised or your social security, whatever it is, if it's something that creates panic or a urgent emotion in you, that's something that you should definitely double check to make sure that's real.
So for ChatGPT, whenever I use it, I always am double checking my answers because, like Kai had said, ChatGPT always thinks it's 100% certain and right. So there's been multiple times where I've asked questions in, let's say, my statistics class, for statistics homework, and they tell me that you're supposed to do it this way, not this way, and that's not the way how I've learned it, and it always gives me a different answer than what I'm supposed to. So I have these other math websites that I would use, and I figure out the answer that way, or I go to my teacher, and my teacher tells me that that's the correct way to do it, or the way that you got was wrong, which I think that all kind of falls underneath the whole don't trust AI 100% with whatever it's telling you, because it always does think it's right, and you don't know if it is right or wrong all the time, which that also falls in with like common sense. And with the scamming part, you don't click on a link that it randomly sends you. You don't open, or if there's like you get an email, let's say, that says, hey, you are missing out on, you forgot to pay your taxes and you're charged $160 for whatever it was. You know in yourself that it's not always a good thing to go clicking those links, sending money to someone random you don't know, or anything like that. So I feel like when it comes to scamming, it's majority common sense, but there can be moments where it's stressful and you really don't know if you are missing something or not. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to throw a surprise question at you guys just because I think we have the time to. So, and you can take a sec to think about this, but where, what do you hope to see for the future of AI? Think big, dream big. We want to hear some positive thoughts and maybe some limitations as well, but I know you already discussed that. So like when you think of the future, because we like are the next generation that's going to be running our country and our worlds, what do you want to see? And whichever one of you is ready first or wants to speak first. No rush though.
I think being able to have AI basically replace humans in tasks that we don't necessarily need humans to do, like running factories. Humans could be, human effort is so much more than just putting things on an assembly line. I think that sort of human effort that's being wasted in those factory jobs could be used to like express themselves creatively, or like go towards their dreams or aspirations, or take any other career path as well. I also think it can be really useful as a tool to help replace a lot of like challenging like work that isn't necessarily hard. It's just super time consuming. I know AlphaFold. I don't know how many of you have heard of this. It's a AI model that can basically solve protein structures with super high degrees of accuracy when compared to previous scientists doing it. And it's led to a ton of drug breakthroughs, and has been super helpful in producing new medications for tons of therapies that have extended the average living age and increased quality of life. So I think that's like really great application of AI. And further into the future, I could see AI being able to do more than just that, being able to like look at our genetic code and tell us where there are like genetic diseases in our genome. Like obviously we don't want to remove human diversity and like uniqueness, but I think being able to help find specific portions of your genome where there may be mutations that are cause life-threatening or very serious illnesses could be really, really amazing for humanity.
Honestly, I don't use AI very much in my daily life, so my like image of what could happen isn't as big as I think it could be. But honestly, for the future, I just hope that AI helps people be successful and like have a better quality of life, like whether that is creating new drugs to help people stay healthy and happy, or helping people with work so that they can use their time to like think creatively and develop new ideas. I think that no matter what, AI should be used as like a tool that can help people have a higher quality of life and not replace their own thinking and creativeness.
Yeah, I think you guys nailed it. Just those mundane daily tasks that people do, whether it's for work or just something they have to do day to day, that's 100% something that AI can eliminate in the future, just with how fast it's progressing. For me personally in my life, it's really exciting that all this is happening because I want to go into business, and there's just so many tools that have opened up that have allowed me to do things that I would have never done before, like build websites or I could create a slideshow in about 10 seconds with an app, with an AI app. And it's just crazy because it can turn someone who has an idea but doesn't know how to get there to someone who's really, really good at each one of those fields because AI is so good at all of that stuff. And I think it's just going to keep getting better. So I think the pattern that we're going to see is people who have big dreams, who can think big, but don't have those skill sets to make those happen. AI is going to allow that to happen. And I think that's going to be really cool because we're going to get a lot of cool innovation in our society and things getting solved, big problems getting solved, and people in the masses being able to allocate their time toward more productive things and bigger thoughts because those day-to-day tasks will be eliminated by AI.
I think that AI will keep or how do I say this? The future, I feel like for our generation really is heavy on AI, because with the way how it's been progressing right now, it's been fairly tame. We're progressing very fast, I would say. And there has been issues with it, of course, but the overall benefit of it has been amazing. Like I had asked ChatGPT once if it could help me get oh my gosh, entrepreneurship or job like that. And I had a full conversation with it for about like 40 minutes, and it was telling me like what I need to get started, what I need to do, what I want to do, what interested me, and it came up with this car detailing company, and it said that all I needed was like $160 to get started. I just think that alone shows that AI has greatly improved over the certain amount of years it's been out, and I think that it shows just the bare minimum of where it's at right now, because we could really use it in the future to, like Brandon was saying with the gene alteration and stuff. It could really be used to help a lot of people out. And it's kind of just all I gotta say.
Not to rain on anyone's parade or anything, but I think one thing we really needed to keep in mind with like the expansion of AI is the environmental impacts of AI, because I know it uses up a lot of water and there's a lot of resources, physical resources, that we don't really think about AI consuming when it's just like a little screen in our phones. But these things will have real impacts and already are having real impacts, and if we want to keep using AI and like make it into something that will help people, I think we really need to keep making sure that the negative effects are not something that we need to worry about.
Yep.
Okay, so now we're going to open it up for audience questions. We're hoping we can offer somewhat of a different different perspective to maybe what you're used to. And so if you have questions for these students, then, or just want to have a further discussion.
Anyone?
What do your teachers say about using AI?
It's mixed. There's certain teachers who are like, don't touch AI. Like, stay the hell away from it in my class. We are not going to use it at all. I have teachers who just completely ban using computers at all in the classroom because they're afraid as soon as we open that computer, it's going to be AI just all over our screen doing all our work for us. But then I have other teachers who actually support using AI in the classroom. Like my biology teacher, we had she's in my class. We had a project where we had to look into, I believe it was, or maybe it was biotech. He had us look into careers in biotech and like pros and cons of different careers, and he told us to use AI to look into the different careers and tell us like what match which ones we thought could go with us. So it's just like all across the board with our teachers.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely a very like mixed variety of ideas. Most of my teachers don't allow us to use AI at all, and I think it's definitely like not good to use AI to cheat on assignments, but without people teaching students how to properly use AI, that's like the only way that they know how to do it. And so there's either like people like me who barely use AI at all, and there's people who use AI on every single assignment to replace their own thinking. And I think that without teachers teaching kids how to actually use AI in a helpful way, like Brayden was talking about, I think it'll be pretty harmful. So I think that there should be more teachers teaching kids how to properly use AI, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the problem is some teachers eventually, as you get higher up in grades, they just kind of bury their heads in the sand and are like, we're not going to look at AI, we're not going to use AI to help us with anything. And I think there's definitely a balance of using AI for everything and no AI use at all. I think that comes in using it as a tool and helping it amplify your learning versus replace it. But if you look at like elementary schoolers, they should definitely not have access to AI, at least the way we use it. So I think it should progress, and that's something that teachers are really worried about, is students in elementary or middle school getting a hold of it and using it. So I think there should probably be less encouraged use in those younger grades, but the moment that students who've never used AI get out into the real world and see how quickly it can replace, not replace, but yeah, it can replace your thinking, they're just going to use it irresponsibly. And I think the key in high school is just for teachers to get students to use it the right way, not to get them to not use it at all.
Like Kai was saying, I think that with AI usage, you have to be matured. It's not really for the people who are in the younger grades, like Kai was saying. But overall, it's very mixed with teachers. Teachers aren't fully against it. They say that it's great to use for research as long as you know that it's trustworthy. But they don't want you to take away from your learning. One of my teachers really values learning when it comes for his students' learning, at least. And he like emphasizes that, like, I think every day, and he talks about AI every single day, and he's big against it, but he knows that it is the future, and it will if it is used properly, it can really help out.
Had one more thing, Dad. A lot of our teachers, like, if you look at our school district's AI policy right now, it's not actually forbidding the use of AI. It's just making sure that if we do use it to do research or come up with ideas, that we do cite our usage of AI. And so we don't pretend like it's our work, which I think is an interesting take. Like, I don't know if we should necessarily be using AI in school, but it's definitely part of our reality, and a lot of schools have accepted that and noticed that and have to try and work with that. So there's just a lot to explore with it.
You'll need to excuse the accent, but I can't change it. Some people find it difficult to follow. Even in the British club, they didn't understand what the hell I was talking about when I was on the board.
We have AI translate.
Actually, they used to put closed caption when Scots talked on the BBC. Now most of the people presenting are actually Scottish. But I've been in Germany for nearly 40 years. That's why my accent isn't as bad as it used to be. Anyway. Okay. Right. Thank you very much for your presentations. It's really spiked off in different directions, so many ways. Being an older generation, we had similar struggles, but it was all to do with new tools. Everything used to be written by pens. Now you've got computers. It used to be typewriters, it used to be tape machines, it used to be, and you've got these Luddites, people that want to hold on to the old things because they can't transfer to the new things. Some of it's too fast for people. And you're at the crest of the wave just now, you're understanding a lot of things. But I think for people at my generation who can't even remember why they walked into a room, they've got to walk back out to remember what that was for. We don't have AI for that yet. But when we're on the net, my wife's very good at being able to say, that's not the proper website, that's a fake. You can see it's a promotion or somebody's subsidising it, get on to something else. And I've nearly been caught out often enough. I've run my own business successfully doing a whole load of stuff, but I don't see the traps. My two sons, growing up, leading their own lives, doing all sorts of things in different continents, have helped me in the past, sometimes laughing at other people I've worked beside because they don't understand. I could understand a lot because I had to do things, but I feel that there's a very big danger of, it's all right if you're on the crest of the wave, if you can move with AI, if you can do things. It speeds up things, it saves a lot of people a lot of money, a lot of time. But there's more people going on the get a job routine, stay at home routine, don't employ yourself, you can't work, you can't do anything. We see it in stores, grocery stores, petrol stations. These people are getting basically locked out. Do you see AI presenting anything for those people in the future?
So I'm going to see if I can repeat the questions. It sounds like you're asking, what do you foresee for people who are in blue-collar jobs and their future? Because even with instruction, not everybody can reskill.
That's a tough question. Blue collar workers, I think. Sorry, give me a second. It can definitely help them with their daily lives still. It's difficult to like say now that AI is here, you use it, because not everyone, like you said, is going to be able to adapt to that as easily. I think the key is like striking a middle balance where we don't speed AI progression so rapidly that it locks everyone out of jobs in the first place, and we can find a way to slowly build up AI so that it's working with us instead of replacing us. Because I've heard like futures where people like don't work at all, everyone stays at home, and AI just does all our work for us. But we still need human oversight for a lot of things. Like AI is nowhere near perfect. It makes up to like 60% errors, I believe, on certain tasks. And so in no industry is 60% error acceptable for anything. So it's definitely not going to replace human labor yet. I will say that it has been improving a lot, but it's still a long ways away from being able to replace what humans can do with proper training and resources.
I mean, I think the frustrating thing about AI is that it's like saving a lot of money and it's making a lot of money, but all that money is going to like the people that are making the AI and like upper class people. I think for a lot of people, they find that frustrating. I think, especially with the threat of AI replacing jobs, I think we need to make sure that AI doesn't do that, and instead people use it as a tool to make their jobs easier, like Brayden said.
Yeah, I think it's actually really encouraging for those jobs, because even though if you're holding on to that job, it's not going to be great if you're holding on to that as that's what you're going to do for the rest of your life. But I think if you're open to new job opportunities, it's going to create a ton with all of the new things it's helping us do. And I think it's going to be more creating new things that people move to versus doing the same things, because if people are doing the same things, that won't work because we're in a changing world.
I think that with AI usage in the future, that it probably, I don't know when, at some point it will take over, but I don't think that we're near that fully yet. Like it was said, 60% error, right? It was 60%, yeah. I see that it will, like Kai was saying also, if you're like holding on to something like that, everybody's can do better, I would say. We can all like find something that we're fully passionate about. And I think that AI can really help you with that. Like I was said earlier with the entrepreneurship thing I was doing with AI, and it was telling me to start up a car detailing business. It's because it was working off the information that I fed it. And I think that AI could even help people find the spark to build their own business or anything else that they want to do. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Possibilities are limitless.
I wanted to add one more thing. It's just important when you're thinking about this to understand how AI works. Most of the current models we have are prediction models, like they're language based. So they'll take what you say, like the question you ask, and they've basically been trained on huge sets of data, and they'll predict what word will most satisfy your response, or what word should come next based off how they've been trained. So they're not actually coming up with new content off their head. It's all based off the data that they've been fed and trained on, and what they think they should respond with. So it's not going to be a replacement for human ingenuity or creativity. They're very good at pattern matching, but they're not going to be coming up with new ideas necessarily.
Anyone else?
You guys are inspiring me. I've got teenage kids. I'm like, yes, there's hope in the world. I've seen people use a large language model specifically for like a therapist replacement. So I'm just curious from a teenage perspective, have you explored that mental health avenue? Do your friends do this? And what do you think about that?
Great question. Should start over here. I feel like I'm always making you go first.
Well, I would say with that, I don't really know if I've never explored it myself. I've never heard anybody exploring it myself. I never even thought about it until now. But it's kind of interesting to think. I don't really know how AI would respond to certain things that you tell it, like for mental health wise. Me personally, I don't think I would go to AI use for if I'm struggling with my mental health wise. I would probably go seek out someone else. But I really don't know for when it comes to AI and mental health usage for like therapists.
I've definitely seen people using it as a therapist, but I think the problem with it is it's going to give you like the textbook response of what someone should say to your question or your problem or whatever you tell it. And I think the key to having a good relationship with someone that can help you is they give you a human response, whatever that may entail. Like something that's not going to be what technically is the right answer, because there is no right answer that it can give you. I think just that level of compassion can't be replicated in a computer program, but that's just me personally.
Yeah, I'd say like if you know for like if you're 100% certain that AI will like help you have a better quality of life by acting as your therapist, then I'd say go for it. But I don't think we're there yet with AI. Like at this point, like I said, it won't really pick up the like nuances that a human therapist would with your own like personal experience, because everyone has their own like lives, and AI it's hard for AI to pick up on that, seeing as it's just repeating things that past humans have said. Yeah, so I'd say for therapists, if you know that it's gonna work, go for it. But I don't think we're there yet.
I have seen people use it. I do not recommend it, though. I've heard a story once about a boy, 14 years old, in Florida, and sad story. Long story short, he was talking to a chatbot about his feelings, and he confessed suicidal thoughts to the chatbot. And instead of reporting it like up the chain to actual humans, or moderators, the chatbot actually encouraged those thoughts, and he ended up taking his own life. So I definitely do not think it's a good idea right now. Yeah. Also, kind of like they said, it can't necessarily pick up on body language, or like if you're talking to someone face to face, like you can see like they're tapping their hand, or like they're like twitchy when they mention something. AI, they only see the zeros and ones of what your words were, and I don't think that's going to replace human connection anytime soon.
I'm actually going to speak to this one as well. Kind of going off what they said with past answers about how humans have like a creative and unique nature that right now machines can't replace. And they can do the formulaic, algorithmic, mundane work, but that just doesn't apply in a field like mental health counseling at all. So while I have seen it, I've heard stories, the same story that Braden just shared, and another article that I read about any form of emotional connection with a large language model just doesn't make sense. Like, I heard a story about a woman who fell in love with her large language model, and we're not even close to the point where the creative and emotional aspects of the human brain are, like, our machines cannot relate to that yet. And so I think with the mental health counseling, that's something that needs to be done with someone, like Braden said, can hear your voice, your inflection of your voice, your body language, anything like that. And so I really disagree with that usage.
So actually, I have a question, and it relates to that, my children are middle school and younger. And one of the things that we see with their friends is a lot of them are super into character chatbots to the point where it's almost that, they might be addicted. And a character chatbot is like, and how to explain this? It's like a character maybe that they're familiar with from a story or a movie, and it's as if they can FaceTime that character and talk to them. And I was wondering, because I see this in the younger kids, is that happening at the high school level too, or are there similar things with kids who are having like long conversations, video chats with AI?
I know one of my friends has a character AI account, which is where you create AI chatbots to act like characters for people to talk to. And she's made some of these, and she has like thousands of interactions with every single one of these AI bots that she's made. And I find that almost surprising, honestly. Like, I get that there's an appeal of talking to characters, but I think with like high school kids, we should be able to recognize that the AI is not that character. They're not thinking like that character. They're just saying words that they think will make you happy. I think lots of people do realize that, but yeah, definitely with younger kids, it's pretty prevalent.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think it's all with that personal relationship aspect of AI. I think it's all just smoke and mirrors. Like, it's trying to do the best it can to mimic that, but it's not actually real. Like, it's just putting up a wall of seeming like it is relating to you emotionally, but if you look deeper, there's actually no connection there. For the character thing, I've never heard of anyone doing that, but I definitely can imagine it. And I think if you have, like, the key is just to interact with other people so that you don't get stuck in that rabbit hole of making all the AI chatbots and going down that road.
I think that when talking to AI characters like that, it's not real, like, at all. I think that it's just I think that, like, let's say it's like Superman or something. I think that whoever makes that is said that you are this superhero who everybody looks up to, and that's kind of it. And your name's Superman. And I think that they kind of like reply back sort of with that whole type of attitude, because I bet that I don't really know, but like, let's say you talk to you're talking with Superman again, and it's not gonna be like how Superman talks in like a movie or how Superman talks in a comic or anything like that. There's no emotion that ChatGPT or AI has. It can't depict like the emotion out properly. So it's just all kind of fake, and it's not accurate, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
I'm assuming this is like with stories that they enjoy or like really liked when they were growing up or that they're into now. I haven't personally heard of anyone doing it like that, I know, but I have heard stories of it. And I do think that it could be a fun way to explore the book or movie or whatever it's from. But I also do think, like, everyone knows that sequels aren't as good as the original. I don't necessarily, like, I feel like if you use it too much, it might like kind of detract from your original love for that story or movie, because maybe the chatbot will say something that like disillusions you from how you thought the character was originally. I like that, like, you can use it, but I wouldn't say use it a ton. Maybe use it sparingly.
Can I add to this really quickly? I just, with the characters combined with AI, I remember, like, just this past, I think it was just a few months ago, reading that Disney completed a partnership with OpenAI. And there was an agreement that Disney would allow AI creations of their characters. And if you know that part of the story, at least for us older teens compared to middle schoolers, it lets us see that a lot of this is just for money. Character AIs. Despite the user having a long conversation with them, long interactions, the company behind the character AI doesn't necessarily care about the individual, like Braden's story. And I think a lot of high schoolers with things like character AIs are able to tell that it's not true. It's like the sequel is worse, and the company behind it just wants more money. They want more promotion, and I think, at least for us, we can see that with character AIs. And I think that's why older teens tend to stray from uses like that and use it more for their own benefit, like for the research, school, projects, things like that.
That's actually super heartening, you guys. I also echo, I'm feeling less discouraged about our future listening to all of you.
I think that when you're talking about these character chats, it's a self-immersion, it's closed, and as a result, it's self-appeasement, but it's closing out. A sad case that I'd seen, actually, something else decades ago. Phones were coming out, and this mother was trying to run the shop, and she had help with the daughter and the daughter's friend, and the two of them were busy on the phone. They were texting each other. They were standing right next to each other. But when the mother turned round and asked them, what the heck, we're here to do a job, get moving. And they were chatting to each other on the phone instead of face to face. We've had COVID, and I had been PCC college redoing architecture. It was a repeat. It was easy to do to be able to stay here under a visa. But when it was really enjoyable. I mean, they thought I was a professor or something. But being in amongst them all was really youthful, integrating, and it was enjoying. You learn from other people's mistakes, because yes, you make mistakes, but when 5 other people are making mistakes as well, you learn faster. Because you know, I can't do that, I'm not going to make that mistake, do whatever. So things have progressed there. But I'll finish with one little point on this character stuff. I actually took a taxi not so long ago, a couple of months ago, and this guy was driving. He couldn't speak English, but he was driving using the GPS map and all the rest of it, and he was having conversation with me. He was using the translating device, and he'd speak in one language, and I, could still talk away in English, even with the Scottish accent. It was translating for him. He could understand a lot of English. He was learning English as time was going on from me or anybody else. But he was able to respond right away, and the interaction there was similar to what I got in PCC. I think this isolation classes, and they're still trying to promote you can learn at home, you can do. I think that's not so good. It would be good to get back to the old way, not being a Luddite, but communicative, to be in isolation. I don't think it's a good educational way of doing things, and I think it's unfortunate for a lot of your instructors. They've got to go racing ahead and be aware of what they're teaching you, when nowadays they can't. Used to get people that could do computers, but as time went on, they had to specialise because computers were getting so brainy, fast, and all the rest of it. They had to specialise. And I think this is the crux that your own teachers are actually having. They're trying to get ahead of you, and there's quite a few you are going faster than they are, which is difficult, So I think there can be lots of fun to be had, and a trip where you can communicate with people, even although you can't understand the language.
Yeah, thank you. I want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank Drishti especially. I'm going to hand the mic back, and anything you want to do to close off, now's a good time.
Well, I think we kind of covered a lot of the things that actually were up here. So I don't think we need to do a separate session for that. But thank you so much for listening, and thanks guys for answering the questions.